After Immanuel Kant, philosophy had reached a very sophisticated point. Philosophers were asking complex questions about knowledge, reason, and the limits of the human mind. But in the 19th century, a Danish thinker asked a very different question. His name was Søren Kierkegaard, and his concern was simple but deeply personal. Instead of asking what is truth, Kierkegaard asked how should a human being live? Kierkegaard believed that philosophy had become too abstract. Too many philosophers were building huge system of ideas, grand explanation of the universe, but forgetting something very important, the individual human being. For Kierkegaard, life is not something that can be solved like a mathematical equation. Life must be lived, and living always involves uncertainty. This uncertainty creates something very familiar to us, anxiety. Kierkegaard called it the dizziness of freedom. Human beings are free to make choices, but that freedom is also threatening because every decision shapes our life. Should we follow society? Should we follow religion? Should we follow our own inner voice? There is no perfect formula. But this is why Kierkegaard introduced one of his most famous ideas, the leap of faith. Sometimes we cannot rely only on logic or proof. Sometimes we must make a personal commitment, a decision that goes beyond pure reasoning. For Kierkegaard, faith was not blind belief. It was a deeply personal choice made in a face of uncertainty. This focus on the individual, on anxiety, and on personal choice later inspired an entire movement in philosophy known as existentialism. Thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus would later explore these ideas further. Albert Camus, whom we have already met in one of the previous episodes, who gave the idea that life can be absurd with no meaning at all and universe is indifferent to it, and who gave the myth of Sisyphus story. But the seed of existentialism, the idea that philosophy must start with the individual human experience, was planted by Kierkegaard. In a way, Kierkegaard reminded philosophy of something simple. Before we try to understand the universe, we must first confront the question of how we ourselves will live.